Hey Queens, welcome to the Sister Circle podcast, a podcast dedicated to providing candid conversations, information, and resources regarding women's health, mental health, motherhood, and wellness. And I am your homegirl and host, Facilitator. So go ahead and get comfortable, Queen. Let's dig in. Hey, what's going on, Queens? I am doing so well. I'm feeling a whole lot of joy. I'm feeling a lot of abundance. I'm feeling a lot of flow in my life, and I cannot complain. I really think that it's because I really was intentional about doing more of the things that bring me joy. And one of the things in which COVID just seemed to have, taken away from me is my ability to be in community with my girlfriends. So Thursday, I went out with one of my good girlfriends for dinner, and we did a little bit of shopping while we were waiting on our table to get made. And then on Friday, I met one of my really good girlfriends whom I met online in person for the first time. She's also the podcast coordinator. Shout out to Keisha. And then on Saturday, I was in community with 5 of my mama girlfriends. We all have kids that are 3 years and younger. So it was really nice. We didn't have no babies on our lap, y'all. We wasn't having to share our food. We didn't have to rush to be home. So it was just nice being in community with like-minded women. All things in flow. And I think that today's guest actually is really perfect in talking about all things in flow, as she is a Reiki master. I am interviewing my own Reiki master. Her name is Rachel. She's a Usui Reiki Master Teacher, a yin and Hatha yoga instructor, and energy and flow facilitator. She's passionate about helping others to really transform their lives into one of continuous peace, of grounding and bliss through Reiki and yoga. So she's going to be talking about all things. What is Reiki? What is the history behind it? But also we're talking about the chakras, y'all. So we're going to do a little bit of chakra 101, learning about what the signs might be if the chakra is out of balance, and just learning some really good information. I think that throughout my healing journey, learning different modalities for healing has been, really key. And so for me, Reiki was one of the things in which I've employed, and it is something that I pull out of my toolbox quite often, and I really encourage others to do the same. So listen, today's episode is great. This queen has wonderful and incredible energy, and I really hope that you can enjoy it as much as I did interviewing her. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. So I am really, really excited to have on the show today my personal Reiki master, Rachel, with us today. I'm excited to not only share your light and the wonderful energy that you just put out there in the world, but also the wealth of knowledge that you have with regards to a lot of things regarding spirituality. So from chakras, as well as talking a little bit more about Reiki as well. So with that, I know a little bit about Rachel, but I want others to know, who is Rachel, and tell us a little bit about what your journey to healing was like.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really, really happy and honored to be here. So thank you. And so I was thinking about that. Who is Rachel? So first and foremost, this kind of, it all ties in together, but I am a feminine essenced person who literally loves being in service to others. That is my calling, is to be in service to others, specifically women, but all beings. And that is my calling from the divine. And I recognized that a while ago. And that is one of my purposes and my passions, is to really be a facilitator for that. And so that is what I am. That is what I do. And I love it. I love helping others to move into harmony, into integration with themselves in every way, shape, and form. And so that is who I am, along with, so I'm a certified yin and Hatha yoga instructor. I am a Reiki Master Teacher, Usui Reiki, which was founded by Mikao Usui. And my background is I'm a court reporter by trade. So I've been doing that freelance court reporting. So I worked in the courts of Cook County for many years. And then I transitioned into more of the healing services. So Reiki, yoga, and also herbalism. My training is in traditional Chinese medicine. So I did that. And then once I got there, I was like, oh, that's not what I want to do, even though I finished everything. And it was like, so I just kind of honed everything in and realized that my love is really Reiki and yoga. So that's kind of what my primary practice has been in, especially since 2020, where I kind of let everything go that I just didn't want to do anymore, that no longer served me. I made the decision. I asked the divine to help me to do that, to let go of the things that I just didn't want anymore. And I have been blessed to be able to do that. So I am living what I love to do.
Yes. That's awesome. Awesome. Living it. Listen, I think that it is a true blessing to be able to operate in the world in the way that you want to, and to also be able to, survive and make a living off of that as well. So kudos to you. Kudos to
Thank you.
So you mentioned that you are, trained initially in like Chinese medicine, but what led you to this work specifically? Like, was it a Oprah aha moment? Like, what happened?
I was always that one that really loved anything dealing with like herbs and, crystals or anything natural, like natural medicine. I was just, ever since I was a child, I was always drawn to that. And so what really kind of facilitated that was when my mom got cancer back in 1998. And I was fascinated because I really told her after she was going through the chemo, I was like, well, maybe you should try Chinese medicine. I don't even remember how that like fell into my lap, but I was like, herbs. So we started playing around with herbs. And then I started dabbling a little bit more into Chinese herbs. And then we found a Chinese doctor in Chinatown. And so she started going there while she was having chemo, and her results were phenomenal. Like, her side effects were so reduced. She was really healthy and she bounced back, pretty quickly. So I was like, that kind of is what really got my interest in natural medicine and Chinese medicine specifically. So as I was going through all of those and I went through school, how one thing opens the door to something else.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always a blur, because it's like, I don't even remember how I got into it, but it's just like one thing just kind of led to another, and you start reading, it's like, God, that sounds like me too. So let me dabble in that. And so that's when I went to school, a yoga teacher training. And then my Reiki Master Teacher, Sister Ella Muhammad, she was amazing. And she was talking to me one day, and this was like in 2013. And she was like, you're meant to do Reiki. And I was like, I don't even know what Reiki is. So I was like, what is that? And so I was just like, okay, but it sounded fascinating. It was like energy work, and I knew I wanted to do it. So I started under her for Reiki 1, 2, 3, the master level, and then the master teacher level. And then I started teaching again, reluctantly, in 2016. And that was at her behest, because she was like, it's time for you to start teaching. And I was like, I'm not ready. Wow. I don't want to. So I started holding classes, and I've been doing that ever since. And literally, you could not have told me 15 years ago that I would be like living this passionate life about Reiki. And yet here I am. Like, I love teaching it. I love certifying people in it. I love talking about it. I love watching the flow of it move through people's lives and watching their journey. So that's kind of how it started.
That's awesome. So it sounds like she saw something in you that you didn't even see in yourself at that moment.
Absolutely. Yes. And may God be pleased with her, because she passed this past summer, but she was so influential for me in really just moving me forward into a whole nother journey. And I don't think she probably did realize that I was going to go in that direction. And I was just like, now I can't see. And she's like, And every time we would get together, she'd be like, and when it's time for you all to start teaching, and then she would look at me and I'd be like, okay. So I've always been that reluctant person to come forward. Like, I prefer the background, and, but I've always had people in my life who push me forward. Like, no, you're meant to go forward and be a little more out there. And so finally I have accepted that, and I am ready to, move into that space. I'm happy to be there.
Awesome. It's a beautiful story. It truly is.
Thank you.
So I remember when I initially had approached you about being a guest on the pod, and I was like, you're a healer. And you're like, no, Faith, I'm not a healer. You corrected me very quickly. You said that I am a facilitator of healing.
Yes. Yes.
But what does that mean to be a facilitator of healing?
So I have the reason why I say I'm a facilitator is because when I have such a thing about the word healer, and sometimes in the conscious community, my own personal opinion is it's really bandied about and it has a little more of a egoic feel to it. And it just never felt right for me personally. So I was playing around. I was actually in a business pod with a couple of my mentors, and I was playing around with some words that and facilitator just came to me, and I looked it up, and facilitate means to make easier, to make less difficult. And I was like, that's it. That's what I do. You know what I mean? And so I am a facilitator. And I don't even say of healing anymore. Like, I've changed that. I am a facilitator of wholeness and wellness, because I truly believe in the inherent perfection of every person, no matter where they are in their journey. And so a lot of times we use the word healing as a base of saying, this is, I'm at this low point in my life, and this has happened to me, and we hold on to that, and I need to heal without really understanding that even in those traumas or those things that have happened to us that don't seem to be positive, everything happens for a reason. And it's not necessarily healing, but it's about integrating even those traumas into yourself so that you can move forward and live optimally. So I like to help people do that.
Well, that's good. That's good. No, I think that is so on point. And when you spoke a little bit about how like being a healer made it seem like, there's a little bit of ego in that. Right. And I even think that for myself in starting the podcast, like you, I tend to like to be in the background, and it was, it was a big force of courage, of faith, and all those things in order to do this. And so for me, the term facilitator, it's like, I know that I am not, a doctor or an expert, quote unquote, but actually my experiences give me kind of like a certain level of expertise in a way. Right. And with my knowledge of this information, I can facilitate the wellness of other women, or as you mentioned, more optimal living. Yeah. So, that's beautiful. Yes, Queen. I like that. I like that a lot. So I know that Reiki is a huge part of your life. Yes. Talk to me a little bit about how understanding the chakras and how it ties into Reiki.
Well, first, I will kind of reverse that a little bit and just say what Reiki is and then how it helps the chakras. So Reiki comes from two words, Rei, which is universal, and then Ki or Chi, which is life force. So it means universal life force. And so what it is, it's a beautiful modality that was rediscovered. The traditional Usui Reiki was rediscovered by Dr. Mikao Usui in the late 19th century. And it has been used since then. It's been around for thousands of years. It used to be hidden in the temples of Tibet and India. And it was a very, very secret practice. It took many years. And so now it has transitioned into the modern world. But it's a beautiful, non-invasive healing modality. And it's pretty much like coming for a beautiful internal, external massage. Just to put it mildly. So the person can be seated or laying on the table, and the Reiki practitioner allows themselves to be the channel or the conduit. They open themselves through their training and then through becoming attuned as a Reiki practitioner to allow themselves to be open, to allow the force of universal energy to move through them into this person. And what Reiki does, esoterically, what it does is it opens the chakras, it clears things, it moves things, it releases stagnation, anything stuck. It opens you up to more and more flow. And we know that most things, usually a pathology or disease or anything in our life, is usually related to some form of stagnation. So Reiki really opens it up. It goes in, and I like I liken it to like its own entity. It really is. It's like its own entity that just goes in and goes right where it needs to. And one of the things it does is go to the chakras, which are your energy centers. You have like hundreds of chakras all over the body. And just for those who don't know, chakra is a Sanskrit word and it means wheel. So these are like energy wheels, and the main ones run along the midline of the body, front and back. And so they correlate to everything in our life, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. If there is a deficiency or an excess or stagnation of something in our life, or there's something that's a little off, there's usually an energy center that is also maybe depleted or just not moving correctly. So Reiki goes in, opens all of that up. And really what it does is it taps into the person and allows them to feel what they need to release what they need to bring up maybe things that they've been holding on to for a long time and weren't even aware of it, so that they can release that. Because we understand that in the release is what clears and paves the way for us to accept more of what we want and desire, right? So whether it's job-wise, family-wise, just personally, but all of it, Reiki ultimately helps you live your best life. That's what I say.
Yes, it definitely does. I just think about the many times that I've done Reiki with you. Oftentimes I think at first it's like, oh, Rachel, like, oh my gosh, I just, I feel like not in flow. Like I feel stuck about certain things. And you're like, okay,
Yes.
lay on down. And then the next thing I know, I'm like knocked out sleep on the table. Like getting like the best sleep of my life.
Yes.
And so for me, it's like, okay, so it just kind of signifies to me that I'm willing to release those things.
Absolutely. And that is so key, because a lot of times, I will say Reiki is magic, and it is magic in its own form, but we still have to do the work. So Reiki opens us up so that we can see what's in front of us, or see what we need to release, see what we have been holding on to, see what needs to change in our lives. But even though we see it, it doesn't necessarily mean we're willing to do the work to get rid of it. And sometimes Reiki, and actually many times Reiki will go in when we're not consciously willing to release, but it opens us up in such a way that it can't help it. Like it has to be released. And so those things that no longer serve you, people, places, things, emotions, it begins to leave your existence. And you don't always connect the dots. Like for myself, I didn't begin to connect the dots until years later, but I saw the transformation that really literally happened once I started getting Reiki and then starting my Reiki training. It was like, literally, if it's not for my highest self, it's only going to stay around for so long. And so I love watching that for people, and they're not even aware of it, but then they come back and they're like, oh my God, so this has been happening, and this is gone, and that's gone. And I had this, issue with this, and this person just kind of disappeared. And you know what I mean? It's just so many things that just clear out.
Yeah. Ooh, that was, yes, you are so right. I mean, I think about since I've been coming to you, like, I let go of a lot of things. A lot of things fell by the wayside.
Yes.
A lot of things, have been born or birthed, if you will.
Yes.
So it's been a beautiful journey. It has.
Absolutely.
And I think that everything, I call her my dream coach all the time. And, I always say everything in flow. If it's not flowing, if it feels
Absolutely.
like it doesn't fit, or if I have a ill feeling about it, then it needs to just go. Then I don't need to do it. And so that's kind of where I stand. And so I definitely credit a lot of that and the ability to live in flow to the practice of Reiki on a regular basis.
Yes. And to be self-aware, because that's really a lot of times what Reiki does, is because a lot of times we're just not aware of how everything is connected. And so when we begin to see the connection to everything from the physical, which, is affected by the mental, emotional, the spiritual, and which is affected by the people around us, by the type of jobs we have, by, our family, by, the politics, by literally the world at large, it really puts things in perspective and helps you to really learn how to be selective in, what you bring into your life so that you can live your best life.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me this, like, I think that, I often say like, oh, I'm off kilter. I don't feel like myself, or, I feel stuck or stagnant in these particular areas. I probably need to go to Reiki, right? But what are some of the ways in which, or the signals that may say, I should probably have a Reiki session?
Mm-hmm.
That would be helpful. And maybe, I think that might tie into the chakras, like around like blockages or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll leave that open to you to tell me what it is. I just know what my experience has been.
So I would say, a lot of times people come physically if they're just feeling depleted, if they're feeling fatigued, if they're having things like headaches or they're not able to sleep. Insomnia is a big one. I'm not sleeping well. I just feel off in my body. And energetically, you just feel off kilter. You feel anxious. And especially now, during this year, anxiety is a huge one. So people are feeling anxious, they're feeling fearful. A lot of it is stuckness, stagnation. I want to make a change. I know what I desire to do, but I'm afraid to make the leap to do it. And that's really a big one. Like, I don't like my job. And so I want to leave it, but, it's all I know. And how do I transition from that? Even the same thing with relationships. I would say 99% of my clients are women. And I love working with women. And I will say that many times it is, an issue in their relationship. It could be the children or their husbands or boyfriends or whatever. And they're looking for that change. Like they're at that precipice where it's like, I don't know if I should leave, I should go, like what? And realizing that everything begins with us internally, begins and starts with us, is usually what leads them to the table where they're like, I think I need a session. I'm overthinking, I want to do this and I want to have no fear about it. I want to move into a different space. I'm ready to transform, all of that. So I would say any of those things usually is kind of a key. And the thing about Reiki is you don't even have to be, you could just be in a perfectly fabulous place and just desire to have it. And I think that's wonderful too. It's almost like maintenance, come in and you're like, well, there's really nothing wrong, but I want to make sure that my energy is moving the way, it should, or it needs to. And so, yeah, that's what leads people a lot of times to the table.
I remember one time, so one of my best friends, and I call her my auntie, I was telling her about Reiki and she said, oh, I'm going to find, a Reiki practitioner out here by me. So she goes and she does Reiki and she's like, the premenopausal. And she's like, girl, I hadn't had a period in 7 months. And next thing you know, you always talking about inflow. I've got a period. What the hell is this? And I said, oh my gosh. I was like,
absolutely.
I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm sorry, I think, right? Like, I was like, maybe. And she's like, I mean, I feel better, but I would feel even better if I wasn't bleeding. Like it was going to be gone forever. But it was the funniest thing. She told me, what the hell you got me doing this Reiki for?
And that will happen a lot.
That was fascinating to me. I said, well, everything in flow on TV.
Yeah. Literally.
Literally.
Yeah, absolutely.
But she had a lot more clarity around something that she really wanted to get some clarity on as a result. So that's really good.
Oh, that's good.
Yep, definitely. So it's funny. I think that as far as the chakras and such are concerned, like, I've seen the chakra wheels and I've seen all of the different colors. And I'm looking right now, I have a chakra candle and it's orange. So for the sacral chakra. So I would love to have like a little bit of a breakdown as it relates to what are the different chakras and kind of, what do they entail?
So the main chakras, again, run along the midline of the body, front and back, or just the midline of the body. And they start from the base of the spine. So if we work our way up, we have the root chakra, which is at the base of the spine. And the Sanskrit word for it is Muladhara. And each chakra has its own color. So each chakra has its own color. It has its own musical tone. It has its own sound. So it really, it encompasses everything. And so the root chakra, its own energy, its own frequency, and what it does. So Muladhara, which is the root, and it's at the base of the spine, and the color is red. And it correlates to earth energy. So if you think about earth energy, it's all about foundation, stability, strength, harmony. It is about survival. And so a lot of times it is about how we flow in survival. Do we just stay in survival mode in that fight or flight? Or are we flowing from survival up the chain into abundance? And most times, most of us stay in that lack mode, which is definitely depletion or stagnation of root chakra energy. And so it can manifest as being in fear all the time, not feeling grounded, feeling scattered, feeling like I'm all over the place, and nothing seems to really ground me to keep me centered. I'm always worried about money. I'm always fearful about, am I going to lose my home? I'm fearful about my family. Just fear. Fear is prevalent in the root chakra opposing force. So when you are grounded in that root chakra energy, then you recognize that there is abundance everywhere, and that fear really serves no purpose. And so you move into this space of I am grounded. And if you think again of like a mountain or think of anything related to earth energy, you recognize that you are grounded. You are here and you have a right to be here. Your reason for existence is to be here, to flow and to move forward into abundance. So that's root chakra. And then there is Svadhisthana, which is the sacral, and that's like right below the navel, and that color is orange. And that energy is water energy. So it's all about adapting and flowing like water does, being resilient, being able to, the ability to flow back and forth through life with ease. Water does not force, really. Water is its own force. And it is not shaped by outside forces. It shapes outside forces, right? And so we want to have that same ability so you can see how things begin to connect. Like you want to have that connection to earth energy where you're grounded, but you also want to have that ability to flow and be adaptable. And the sacral also has to do with pleasure, like our pleasure center. It's our emotions, and it's where we house all of our emotions. So for women, especially like in our womb space, that is really the space where we hold so much stuff. It is a vessel energetically. And, it can manifest dysfunction there, can manifest like polyps and tumors and, reproductive issues. Just all types of things can manifest there. So it's about allowing your emotions to move through and not being held onto so they can be released. Because it's when we hold on to those emotions that things get stuck and things begin to manifest in the physical realm. So making time for pleasure, making time for joy, things like that. And then we move up to the solar plexus, and that's Manipura, and that color is yellow. And that's just, that is our self-esteem. That's our personal power. That's fire energy. Thinking about fire. Fire is cleansing. It purifies. It really serves a purpose. It clears debris away to allow new growth. If you think about forest fires, right? It clears and it looks like devastation, but underneath it is all this abundant new growth that's here to come up. So it is that fire energy that we need to clear and make a path to live our abundant life. Let's see. So then we have my favorite, which is the heart chakra, and that is Anahata, and that's the color green. Some people can see pink as well, so I think it's both. And that is air. And the heart chakra is kind of like the bridge. So everything below is more of the material, the matter, the physical. And as you move up the chain, you begin to move into the more ethereal and spiritual. So you see the connection between the spiritual and the earthly realm. And one is not more important than the other. And the heart is the bridge to that. And so that's all about love and compassion and feeling that, being that, allowing it into your life, into your space. But first, allowing it by having it for yourself, because it always starts with self first. You cannot have love, compassion for anyone else if you don't have it for yourself. So it's about releasing guilt. It's about releasing, sadness, releasing things that just, we hold on to from the past and letting it go so that we have that free flow of space, that free flow of energy here, which again, you can see the air energy and your lungs here, right? So it's about taking in that air and releasing out what no longer serves you. And the more you're able to release, the more you're able to take in more love, more compassion. And so then we move up to the throat chakra, Vishuddha, which is the beautiful color blue. And that is all about communication and speaking your highest truth, and also listening, because it's really, that is part of communication, right? And a lot of times we listen to reply, and we listen to, not really hear the other person, but to, make our own point of view. And so literally it is about clearing away whatever blockages are here so that you can speak your truth, but speak it in the best manner, but also listen to others as they are speaking to you. So it is about true communication, and also about creative expression, because creativity is a form of communication as well. So making time for whatever, you love, painting, cooking, or whatever serves your passion. And then we have our ajna, which is our third eye between the brow. And that's kind of more of a light purple. And that is all about intuition. That is all about, I say it's about trust, because it's really about trusting yourself first, trusting that you have the inner guidance. So it can manifest through dreams, just through our intuition, through things that we know before they happen. It's our psychic awareness, which is really we all have it, and it's about tapping into that. And it's not a woo-woo. It is literally, we have been given these gifts of internal knowing. And we have so many times learned not to trust it. And then we regret it later on when it's like, oh, I should have listened to, my mind told me. And it's not really your mind, but it's your intuition. It's like, I knew I should have, or I should have gone this way, and now I'm stuck behind this train. Just really simple things. So it's about trusting that internal knowing, trusting that intuition, and making space for it. And so that is all about moving into the crown, which is...
Can I ask you a really quick question about
Absolutely.
the third eye chakra? What does that look like in opposition?
So it would be dimming that light. It would be dimming I'm sorry, and I should have said that it has to do with light. It is the reflection of light. And so many times we close that eye. It is like a literal or energetic eye that's in between the brows, and we close that. And so when we close it, that is what dims it. That is what makes the energy there stagnant or keeps it depleted. So literally, that's why I say I feel it is about trust, because you have to trust enough that you trust that internal compass. You trust what the divine is bringing to you, and you learn how to be discerning. You learn how to look inward, and you are able to integrate that. So when you don't do that, it just really manifests. So physically, it can manifest as, issues with the eyes. It can manifest as headaches. And a lot of times these headaches have more of an emotional component to it. It's like, what is it that you are not looking at? What is it that you're afraid to face? What is it that, maybe you have turned the light down on? And so when you begin to look deeper, and that's what the third eye is about, looking deeper into things and trusting what you're seeing, then that helps you to flow even better.
Got it.
Yeah. And so the last one is Sahasrara, which is our crown chakra. And that is, so some people see, dark purple, some people see white, some people have seen gold, but that is the chakra of enlightenment. So we have moved to that space. You can see how you, again, go up that ladder, that chain of energy, and you've moved into the space of trust, of knowing, of discernment. And now you're able to integrate that with this whole cosmos. And you begin to see your connection to literally everything in this world and in this universe. And that's kind of where you want to be. That is the space of enlightenment, is to truly see the divinity in everything, even when it doesn't look divine, and to trust it. So, yeah. So that's kind of basics chakras.
Yeah, no, that was a good breakdown. A lot of enlightenment came from that. Pun intended, right?
Yes, right.
So that's awesome. So how can Reiki be used as a tool for balancing the chakras?
pretty much Reiki just goes in and it just aligns, it opens the flow. So again, by opening the flow of the whole body and everything energetically, it's automatically opening the flow of the chakras as well, just to make sure that they are moving in the proper fashion. And that they are, because they're all connected, and what affects one chakra will eventually affect all of the others, right? And we begin to see that, like whatever we're extra fearful about begins to affect, our desire, our ability to release our emotions. That fear just gets stuck in our sacral chakra, and it begins to, affect maybe our relationships, or we become really rigid, so we're not able to flow properly. And then we begin to, become, we turn down that light, or we're not feeling as loving, we're not feeling as compassionate, and from there, we're not able to speak our truth because we're afraid. And it all stems from the root. We're not able to trust that inner, intuition. We're not able to see our connection to everything. So everything is connected, and Reiki goes in and it helps to open all of that up in the chakras so that we see the connection. We see the areas we need to work on, and we are able to do so.
So listen, I think that between, your giving a really good understanding of both Reiki as well as the chakras, that leaves us in a really good place. I want to know, what tools or resources or just things that are bringing you joy, and that you're adding to your wellness toolkit.
So my wellness toolkit. So, reading always is a big joy for me. And I love reading things that are pertinent to energy or to Reiki. Also yoga. So my own personal yoga practice. Like I said, I teach Yin and Hatha, and I'm getting ready to move deeper into Ashtanga. So that will be added to it. And I love I'm falling more and more in love with my own yoga practice as well. So that really brings me joy, learning more about the integration of like energy and food. I love food. So that is in my wellness kit. Proper healthy food is really in my wellness kit. Proper rest is a big one for me, is in my wellness kit. So I'm always about naps. I am a huge proponent of naps.
I love a good nap. Yes.
Okay. And I feel like not enough people take naps. And I feel like the world would be such a happier place if more people took naps.
Oh, I agree. Yes.
A cat nap. You know what I mean? Like 15 minutes. All you gotta do is 15 minutes and you're like energized and relaxed.
I need at least 30. I need 30.
Yeah. Well, 30 solid 30 minutes. Is optimal. I agree. Yeah. So things like that. Also, I am in a beautiful femininity group, the Feel Hive, and all of my sisterhood, the soft sisters there, through my mentor, Sri Namaste Moore. Like they literally are like some of my lifeblood. So I really get a lot of nourishment from them. And that is really important, is relational, having good relational communication and having people that you really can relate to and bond with. I think that's so important for everyone's toolkit. You need that,
Yeah.
So that, and then just, the usual typical having a good time. Like I definitely believe in pleasure. That's a whole nother thing. So, whatever you need to do to bring you pleasure, I say, do that. And if it's, a healthier pleasure, of course, but yeah, so I definitely am a proponent of that.
Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your knowledge and just energy with listeners.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I wish you all the best, Queen.
Thank you,
wish
Queen.
that you be well. Yes.
Yes, you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. It is truly my hope that you both enjoyed and gained something from it. And if so, be sure to share this episode with another queen that could benefit. Also, if you are willing and able, please leave me a 5-star review wherever you consume your podcast. That is how we spread the good word, y'all. And in the meantime, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at The Sister Circle Podcast. And be sure to check out the website, thesistercirclepodcast.com. There you can subscribe to our mailing list to ensure you get reminders about when new episodes drop and receive our monthly newsletter that's filled with great resources. You can check out our show notes, resources, and blog. And you can send me a message if you want to be on the show, have an idea for the show, would like to collaborate, or sponsor the show. With love, Faith.